Welcome to Staying Safe and Sane on the Internet, asterisk, if that is indeed possible. Seems more and more difficult these days. This is the Mill Valley Public Library. I'm Franklin Walther. I'm the Digital Services Librarian here, and this is part of a series of digital literacy classes. I saw this bumper sticker recently and just had to get a photo of it. Sometimes it does seem that way. As I said, this is part of a series. We're at the third of 4 for this little go-round, so there's not all that much of the series left this time. Next week we'll be looking at a framework for troubleshooting your tech, trying to solve your own problems, or if you can't, at least getting the information that really helps those who can help you. It's sort of the practical half, this and next week, of my digital literacy series as it's developed, because digital literacy is a term that could mean a lot of things. Everything from how to use a mouse, what is a computer, but these days, I think really saliently, what are the social implications of what is happening with technology? Who is pushing it what direction? And what are the problems we face with that, the dangers? And then what do we do about it? Because out there now, giant companies, kind of tech oligarchs, and the government taking a very repressive turn. They're squeezing us for money, they're stealing all our personal information, they're manipulating us and tracking us, persecuting us. This is not the way I wanted technology to turn out to be used, you know? So I feel like we should do something about it. Somebody should do something. And that somebody should probably be us, because I don't know if we can count on whoever we elect to really represent us. I think if we can understand a little bit more about our technology, that'll give us more power. Knowledge is power, as they say. It's a cliche for a reason. And as a librarian, and not someone who's trying to sell you any particular tech product or service, I think that that knowledge will make us more empowered. I want to see us more thoughtful and more free. Excuse me for wanting all those beautiful things. I wrote that down. It's made me sound really good. You can evaluate the information you get today. We have 2 chapters today. One, I really do think it will be helpful to understand a little about how the internet works. We're not going to get down into the very nitty-gritty, because I don't know the very nitty-gritty, as much as I love to memorize acronyms and stuff, and I'll give you a few of those if you want to impress your friends at parties. But a metaphor that guides me through all this digital literacy stuff, and if you've been to the previous classes or anything with me lately, you've heard this. But you might have a car. You might have gone to engineering school and could design and build a car. You might be able to maintain your car and do things that I couldn't dream of with the engine. You might just be able to drive a car, but you might drive a car really well, like a race car driver or a stunt driver. You might just drive a car ordinarily, or you might not even have a car. But just because you can't build that car doesn't mean you don't have a stake in cars in society, right? If you can't drive like a race car driver, you still have an interest in these cars should all have seatbelts for our safety, right? If you don't even drive a car, you could still be hit by one. So you have an interest in keeping them safe to the degree that we can. So I want to underline, don't bounce off technology because it is presented, and it is really complicated, and technology is a huge term. But you know what I mean, all these gadgets and doodads and the internet and all that. You may feel that young people have it all figured out. They're swiping around and they just seem to pick up something and know what to do with it. Maybe after this class, though, press one of those young people a little and see if they understand what's going on under the surface. Are they tech whizzes, or are they just familiar with the surface level? So today we'll get back at the young. That's our primary goal here. We'll look a lot at how the internet works, and then we'll look at all the wonderful threats that are out there on the internet and some real, practical, achievable, not too complex things we can do about it. Okay. 1, how the internet works. IP addresses, everything on the network has it. DNS is the system that revolves domain names to IP addresses. Browsers browse the internet, search engines help us find information. And HTTP is the protocol that we use. Okay, done. Now, chapter 2. No, I'm kidding, I'm kidding. We're going to go into all these steps with a lot more detail. But we will go through these steps. And here is how I think this may make sense. We're going to get to the internet from a device and understand how it happens all along the way. Because it seems seamless, fast, behind the scenes. But a lot is going on. You start with your devices. Whoop, there they are. There's a computer, maybe a phone, and just sitting here by themselves, they are what they call air-gapped. They can't get to the internet or talk to anything else. Now, if you are guarding some very important secrets, or you are a writer and want not even to have the opportunity to be distracted by the internet, maybe that's fine, you're done. But the rest of us, we need a little more. These devices need to connect to something, and the first step on our journey is going to be to a device, and this is like in our homes, right, is the scenario here. The first step on that journey is to connect with either a physical thing, like one of these Ethernet cables you may have. That's the solid line going between that desktop and the next piece of equipment. Or the dotted line indicates Wi-Fi, which is what we're probably more often using. And either way, this is an open door to our little network here. What are they reaching out to? A device called a router. And the router routes all the little bits of data that are moving around on the network. It has a lot of jobs. One of those jobs is being the DHCP server, Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol. Put that in your pockets. What does that actually mean, though? This means you connect these devices, plug in your cable, or find the Wi-Fi name, put in the password, get accepted into the network, and then your device shows up and says, I'm here. Who am I? And the thing that's the DHCP server, usually the router, says, you are 192.168.1.103. There you are. That is a unique address on this network, like an address on a house, so that data can get to the right device and not double up or get confused, unless you've configured something wrong. And so we end up with local IP addresses. IP, or Internet Protocol, remember those numbers I said, it's the form of individual address that all these things will have. And it is local because so far we are in a lovely little lagoon of our own. We're safe. We're just communicating with our other devices. There's no big scary internet yet, but we do want that big scary internet. Fortunately, our router does another really important job. It runs the firewall, which is already a very nice metaphor. Picture the internet out there. It is the raging hellscape of a fire where all sorts of bad actors are scanning ports and trying to break into systems and just see what mischief they can cause. There's a nice, stout, sturdy software wall that your router sets up so that people can't just be probing in. And then behind is a nice, calm paradise. It's your little lagoon. It's absolutely necessary, but it's on by default with just about every router.
Hi.
Hello. Yeah, no problem. Come and join us.
Is there a handout?
There's not a there's not a handout, but this whole presentation will be electronically delivered to you all. And there's a recording of the class in case you just love it so much that you want to watch it again or pass it on to someone else.
Did I miss anything?
Oh, not really. We just started with how to get to the internet. We haven't gotten too far.
Hey, sir, can I ask you a question? Do you have time to talk after class, or do you have the...
Yeah, let's do after class and we can do
I know.
questions.
I just wanted to ask you, that's all.
Okay,
Be
yeah.
quiet, okay?
Okay, thank you. All right, so let's see, how far have we gotten? Okay, we've got our firewall, we're protected, we're ready to hit the internet. There's yet another thing that your router will do. When it does all these functions together, I put the word gateway up there. It's sometimes called that. This is a thing you might get from Comcast or whatever. But speaking of Comcast, we need to get out to the internet, and that data is in a bit of a different format. So we need a modem of some sort. a modulator, demodulator. And back in the day, these were the things using the phone line to do a me, 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 send data over the phone line. But you might have like coaxial cable, like cable TV coming into your house. And that needs to be translated into the kind of network information that works on your network. That's another job of this gateway or a modem or optical network terminal if it's fiber optics, up to your internet service provider. This is the company that will take you the rest of the way to the internet, something like Comcast, and maybe tell my feelings about that company. The little guy with the magnifying glass is there because they may well be collecting and selling your browsing information. Not a fan, but necessary. We do need some internet service provider or other to get us the rest of the way to the internet and all its wonders. Now, out on the internet, there are IP addresses out there. They are public ones. Anyone on the internet can hit these. Your router it faces two different ways. It's got maybe some ports on it that say LAN and one that says WAN. That's your local area network, and then your wide. So it stands between the pleasant lagoon and the fiery hellscape. And its fiery hellscape side goes up to your internet service provider and out. All right, so we've gotten to the internet, but now what are we going to do? We probably want to go to some website or other. Our little parakeet friend here would love to go to parakeets.com, but there's a problem. Computers do not use words. They want numbers. They crave these IP addresses. Well, our parakeet friend does not remember the IP address for parakeets.com, and you probably don't remember the IP address for all the sites you visit. There has to be a better way. There is. We can turn words, domain names, like parakeets.com, into these numbers by using the domain name system. And there's a whole hierarchy of worldwide servers out there that maintain a giant phone book of all the IP addresses where you can find all these domains. It's a big, complicated thing. We can just sort of compress it into it's them out there, the servers. So Parakeet says, I want to go to parakeets.com. Puts it in the browser. That goes off to the DNS system, which looks up the answer and returns 69.64.147.245. And yes, that is actually the address for parakeets.com. Unfortunately, there's no actual website there right now, I don't think. But if they do make one, for now, that's where you'll find it. Of course, that might change, and that's one of the reasons we have DNS, because it'll point to the new place. Like our city website for Mill Valley, we switched who was providing it, so it was somewhere else, but because the DNS records are being refreshed really fast, it could just point people to the same place without a lot of downtime of like, no, there's nothing there. Very useful. So now the computer knows. The Parakeet still doesn't have to know this number. The computer knows where to find parakeets.com.
Is parakeets.com a real website?
No, this is my own creation right here. We now know where the site is, but there's still more to do. Did you know all this is happening in like milliseconds? There's still more to do. Great, we know where it is, but the parakeet doesn't want to just know where it is. He wants his parakeet information. So we have our web browser. That's the software on your device, your computer or your phone or tablet or whatever that displays web pages, such as the 800-pound gorilla with over 80% market share, I think it is, if not more, Google Chrome. Put that in your hat and we'll talk about it more later. But out there on the internet, there's the web server that hosts all the stuff that's on parakeets.com. Our browser is going to go make what's called a HTTP request, Hypertext Transfer Protocol. How about that? So it hits this web server and says, hello, I would like to download your page. What information do you have that I can arrange for my user and show all this wonderful links and text and images and such? And the web server says, all right, here it is. There you are. All right, that seemed nice and easy. There are a couple of problems that present themselves, though. Can you hold questions till the end? Can you hold questions to the end, please? Thank you. There is a bit of a problem in that what goes between these is in plain text in HTTP. That is, it's just the text sent. Maybe that wasn't a problem back in the day. I mean, it wasn't when this protocol was originally developed. But what if this parakeet is going to his bank? It's where he keeps all his seeds. It's very important. And he has a login and password. Just making this kind of request, that login and password are just traveling in plain text across the internet. And, metaphor I like, someone standing in between the device and the destination might be able to take a metaphorical butterfly net and just get that password. That's bad. That seems bad. We should not just have them floating around out there. So what are we going to do? Well, do something a little better and more secure. It's going to look pretty similar, except this is an HTTPS request. The S is for secure. So the browser reaches out to the website, and then they perform a little dance called the TLS, Transport Layer Security, handshake. They kind of exchange information. They use this complicated public key infrastructure system to just come up with a decoder ring, a secret code that they will both use for this session, so that only they can encode and decode the information. The person who has their butterfly net and grabs the information would just find encrypted gobbledygook in this case. And the website content comes back through that same encrypted arrangement. Much better. Another thing you can do with HTTP is the server might give your browser a little bit of information called a cookie. Isn't that cute? And there can be very good reasons to have a cookie. HTTP itself is a pretty light protocol. It's meant to not be overburdening. But let's say you do something like you log into, your email or something, and log into your email or something, close your tab, and think, oops, I wanted to do something else. If you want to reopen that tab or go back to your website, you don't have to log in again if there's a little cookie that's been placed that says, for this amount of time, it's okay that our session continues. So very helpful. Can store lots of other things like preferences on a website or something. Could also be used for evil, which we will look at in part 2. But all this wonderful stuff happens within a warm, fuzzy sweater of encryption. Used to be, you were always told, make sure you see a little green lock on your web pages, make sure you are making HTTPS connections. Nowadays, it's the much rarer case that anything is not encrypted. So it's more likely your browser will shout and complain, hey, whoa, this site is not secure. There's something wrong with the certificate, or it's not, it's not doing it. So I've backed off on the look for the lock. I think Chrome even did away with the little green lock, because it's more the case now that everything will be encrypted unless it's not. But just to know, that's a very important part of this whole process. And just to disambiguate a little, because I still see this, sometimes this is confusing. What's a browser versus the search engine? What's really going on here? The browsers are the software that show you web pages. They take the data, they arrange them into a beautiful visual melange. They run on your computer or device, because your device, of course, is just a little rectangular computer. That's client side. You're the client. Out in the internet, that's the server. So that interprets and displays the web pages. Some examples, Google's Chrome, perhaps you've heard of it. Or perhaps you just call it Google, but Chrome is the software, the browser. Microsoft has one. If you have a Windows computer, if you have not heard about Microsoft Edge, I don't believe you, because they are constantly shoving it at. Don't you want to use Edge? They put it in front of you so you trip over it. Microsoft makes a browser that it would love you to use. Apple makes Safari. Then there are many other, I think, better ones that we'll look at. But so these are interchangeable. You can run different ones on your machine or your device. You're not stuck with one. Search engines help you find pages. This is what we hit first. Most of the time, I think, people go to the internet. Usually. This can be so compressed a process because a browser will have a default search engine, one that it is going to use. that you feel like you're opening your browser, you type in something, and there you go. But that's because the browser is handing off whatever you type in to a server-side, out in the internet, search engine. A search engine is software that goes through the whole internet and scrapes through it and picks out keywords and things it finds on sites so that when you are searching for certain keywords, parakeets, seeds, it'll display pages that have that in it based on an algorithm that ranks how relevant they think they are, or who paid them, or whatever. You don't really see what makes those choices. Google makes a search engine called Google. Microsoft makes one called Bing. And there's not a whole lot, not any more big players right now, but that might change, and there are some alternatives we'll look at. So we have, finally, from our device, gotten on the network, gotten our address. We're protected by our router's firewall. We've made our queries, our DNS queries, where is the site, gotten the information, gone to it, had the content brought back. We've got to the internet, which means we can move on to how terrible the internet is. It's full of threats. It's full of wonders, but it's also full of threats. Questions at the end,
I
please.
just wanted to make a comment, that's all. I like the internet no matter what, just laying it out.
I like the internet too. I just wish it were better. So I'd like to try and help make it better. Okay, out there on the internet, you've probably heard of a lot of these threats and perhaps faced some of them. There are viruses and malware, little bits of software that are encoded to do naughty things, whether that's steal your information, encrypt everything on your device and demand a ransom in some cryptocurrency, or monitor everything you type and try to steal your passwords and such. All kinds of terrible things could be done, or just sort of burrow in there and live there. And then later, when some bad actor wants to crash some other site elsewhere, they call upon their botnet of all these infected computers, which rise up and all try to reach the site at the same time and knock it down so that it goes down. That's a denial of service attack. But that's another use, nefarious use they might put your computer to. Doesn't that feel gross? There's a little parasite maybe in your device. There are a lot of ads out there. Now, is that a threat? When I look at what the internet looks like with full ads, full flavor, I don't know how you people do it. They bog down your connection with how much data they're using. They slide out and get in the way of things. Hello, click me, click me. They clutter up pages, they flash and jump around, and they can also be an attack vector. They trick you into clicking on it and following down a path. You could end up with some malware or falling into a scam where someone is trying to convince you there's something wrong with your computer when there's not. So they can be more than just annoying. There's corporate surveillance out there. Your personal information is a gold mine for building profiles of you to advertise to you. That was the threat before. And people could maybe realistically say, okay, I mean, I don't know. It's very convenient to have all these free things. Who's paying for those things? Advertisers who want lots of information on you, like lots of information. Where your mouse is hovering on a web page, every web page you visit, they have secret little trackers that you don't even see on a web page, and you don't know it's happening, so it doesn't bother you so much. But a lot of data, thousands of data points are being gathered on us and then handed around between data brokers to put together profiles. And you'll hear, we anonymize the data, it's fine. There's enough data out there that it can be reconstructed and you can be profiled. And if that's just for ads, okay, maybe you could say that. But things are starting to happen, like individualized pricing. They can use all kinds of data points to know exactly how much you'll pay and then charge the full amount. Because when you're shopping online, you don't know that you're not seeing the same price as other people. And Walmart recently has been trialing these electronic price tags. And that's convenient because you don't have to go around and change them all physically. Great, but then also, if you can maybe detect that a device with the Walmart app is coming by, this is a Walmart loyalty customer or someone who shopped there before, with a Bluetooth beacon or just that the app is telling Walmart, then maybe they can flip that price as you're approaching. Because that's the goal. Try to squeeze every little bit you can. And so it is getting worse. It is ratcheting down more. And then there's such a corporate surveillance state that a government, which is getting, if you haven't noticed, a lot more cruel and a lot more vindictive and hunting people down, can just sort of buy that or borrow it in addition to making their own. The reason I am so motivated to do these classes is that things are reaching a point where they're getting real bad and they could get really, really, really bad. I think we need to know about this and resist. But back to other kinds of threats. Phishing emails, we get these all the time, and it's not just emails. There's smishing for SMS text messages, vishing for voice calls that are easier and easier to fake with AI voices and such. And there's all kinds of phone trickery that people will try. You know those two-factor one-time codes you get when you log in? It's an extra security measure so that you know your password, but you also have something you know, something you have. Because someone can steal your password, but maybe they won't have your phone or some special little key that uniquely identifies you or generates a code or whatever. But it's always cat and mouse. And so if you're just getting a text at a phone you control, what if, say the bad guys, we controlled that number? So they will try attacks on your carrier to try to fool them into changing SIM swapping so that they get your number and can get your code. Or you might be on the phone with someone who's like, okay, now you're going to receive a code and just tell me what it is. Never tell anyone what a code is like that, because that is an attempt to subvert this whole idea that only you get this code. Just to introduce the kinds of threats we'll see. And we'll tackle these kind of in a row, in order of their appearance, cast in order of appearance. Viruses, right? I need an antivirus software package on my machine, right? I mean, there's all these threats. When I bought it, it came with Norton or McAfee or some sort of thing that's like, you can have a free trial of all our wonderful services, but then you got to pay, and if you don't pay, you are doomed. You are going to be destroyed instantly by all the malware. You kind of don't need one of these packages for a few reasons. Most of them these days are just bloated with all kinds of things you don't need. People have heard VPNs are cool, so they throw in a VPN and all kinds of just cruft and nonsense that's going to slow your computer down and does not provide a whole lot of actual protection above and beyond what and here mainly talking about computers, what they already do. Operating systems already have security measures. Microsoft, they call it Defender. I keep changing names. It's probably 365 Copilot, Defender, Copilot AI now. But that's built-in virus and malware protection that does scans and will kind of intercept when you start to launch something that it recognizes as bad. Apple really locks down stuff. You've maybe been more frustrated with Apple stopping you and saying, hey, whoa, is this okay? Are you sure? Eventually that gets to the point where you stop thinking about it and click to get them out of the way. But I will say, Gatekeeper and XProtect are ways to keep unsigned, unverified code from running, all kinds of protections. Oh, and our mobile devices have sandboxes where apps can run in a special space and not get into things they shouldn't. Protections on scoped storage and all this stuff. So there are protections that will do a good job without needing some third-party thing. Because ultimately your behavior is what's really going to keep you safe, more so than some software. Again, everyone will try to sell you some tool that's going to take care of it all. This will do it all. You don't have to think about it. Just pay this ongoing subscription fee. But you don't need to. This boils down to just a few things, I think. Don't click strange links willy-nilly. Don't run strange software that's downloaded to your computer or that you don't really know much about. and keep up with security updates on your device. And if you have a Microsoft device, they may break it, but that's their problem. They've been really not doing well lately with updates. But really, that and maybe what we'll look at in a bit, in combination, will keep you out of trouble if you can keep away from phishing and phone scams and things like that. But I think if you were to sum this up even more, be intentional. Don't go clicking around just randomly. Now, my friend ads. Oh, I love them. They're more than just annoying, although they're really annoying, and they're everywhere. They are invasive. They are trying to gather data on you because ad networks serve a lot of different websites, and so every time you visit one of those, they'll try to place a little cookie. Remember you, you're back. You know, Facebook might have a pixel that's invisible. It's called the meta pixel. You don't even see it on a web page, but it's in there, and it checks to see if you have a cookie from Facebook, and then it knows you went to this site, and this site, and this site, and that site. So they are annoying, they're invasive, they're sniffing all your personal information, and they're potentially an attack vector for delivering malware, like I said. We can fight back. We have a lot of ways, actually. I cannot erase you from the internet enough to protect you from everything. The only way to really get out of all the dangers of the internet is to have nothing to do with it and live in the forest in a mud hut. I'm not ready to do that. And I do think we need to keep in mind the perfect can be the enemy of the good. So I'm going to show you some things that will greatly reduce your exposure to all this nonsense, not completely protect you. And if you do things like maintain a Google account or a Facebook account, there's nothing, we can't keep you out of them tracking your activity when you use their services. But we can knock down a lot of the other stuff. Your browser can often take extensions. These are extra little bolt-on bits that you can add that do all kinds of things. They could make everything dark mode, or there are all kinds of extensions, but the ones we're interested in today are ones that block ads and trackers. You can reduce the noise around you, but remember that websites, a lot of them do use advertising to support themselves. They kind of need to. So these extensions will give you an option of turning it off on sites that you actually do. I don't mind. Their ads aren't horrible. I know it supports them. So you have power over making that decision. The best out there is called uBlock Origin for blocking ads. It just runs in the background and you just stop seeing ads. And I have a little practical example that I think I'll run through this stuff and then we'll see all this in action. AdGuard is another good one, and it works with Safari. Safari is more locked down as far as what extensions you can add. This is a typical Apple story, locked down. You're in their walled garden. Apple is less bad about some things, about or at least selling your information. They do track a lot of what you do, but they also control you very tightly. Maybe that's okay for you, but to me it sounds less like being a protective parent and maybe more like a farmer with a flock of livestock that you also eat later. They tend, when Google and Apple have security measures, it's usually to keep other people from eating their livestock because they feed on you exclusively. AdBlock Plus is one you may have heard of. It's out there too, but I'd prefer uBlock Origin. Beware shady ad blockers. Just like VPNs and all the buzzwords, there are lots of impersonators, and for an ad blocker to run, it has to be able to inspect what you're doing. So you need to trust and know that it's not sending that data off somewhere. The best ones will be open source, where people can look at the actual code that makes up, and people who know more than I do and you do, but are looking for these things will say, aha, this is sending telemetry, information somewhere. So that can be caught if they are doing something bad. And not to be, okay. Don't go outside what I'm going to recommend. Just trust me, bro, okay? Because there's a lot of mess out there, and I do know a thing or two. You might do a browser that does all this already. Don't want to go through adding extensions or anything or configuring a whole lot of things. There are browsers that build in this capability. LibreWolf, I really like. This is a fork of Firefox, one of the only other browsers out there, that comes with an ad blocker built in and all kinds of, like the protection settings turned to the max. You don't have to go rooting through all these settings. And there's the Brave browser, which also does ad and tracker blocking by itself. They have a search engine they're building out, one of the few examples of something that's not Google or Bing. They've got some sort of alternative advertising idea, but you can turn that off. They're going to pay you in crypto or something. You can turn that off. But really, if you just want something turnkey, out of the box, works well, LibreWolf. The company DuckDuckGo, you may have heard of, that we will also talk a little bit more about, I think, in the next, yes. They make a browser that is its own browser with all the DuckDuckGo anti-tracking protections that they offer. And an additional feature where you can wipe out your history, and it sends this flame animation across the thing. It's quite fun. And that wipes out all your history. So because you can switch browsers, you're not stuck with what you have, and you can have multiple browsers. I have like 7 on my computer because I'm always trying different ones, and I use different ones for different purposes. You know? Like if you do have to have a deal with the devil and you have a relationship with some company you don't like, Facebook or whatever, only using one browser for that and using a different browser for the rest of your activity helps knock down tracking. Again, not everything. You still have your IP address and other ways, but it knocks it down a little. And yes, so that's those. Let us also talk about other types of tracking. And as I sort of said before, you are being watched far more than you understand because it happens behind the scenes. Browsing activity, how you interact with a web page, they can determine how long you're looking at something, definitely where your little mouse pointer goes. Your purchases, purchase history, DNS queries, like when you look for parakeets.com. And not just a search, but every website you go to, the computer is making those queries. Almost everything goes into these profiles. Your data are the reins that they control you with. And the tech oligarchs and the government are your drivers. What do you think of that? I was very proud to come up with that. So there's some extensions and some browsers that we can use to help knock this down. The Electronic Frontier Foundation makes a tool called the Privacy Badger. He's this cute little guy. He's an extension. You install him, and you have a little badger face on your browser, and you don't have to do anything, but he will watch for the tracking elements that come along with a web page and then block them, or not let them place a cookie. You have a quick question?
So if I decide to install DuckDuckGo on my computer, would I need to install it separately, individually on my phone, or if one place it automatically carries it?
The browser, they also make the browser for the phone too. So, and it would be 2 separate activities. You install the browser on each device, but I think they keep building it out. I haven't looked recently, but they may have a service where you can synchronize them now, you know, the way a lot of browsers do. But they do continue to add features and stuff. Okay, so Privacy Badger is a little extension we can add. He will just watch for nefarious activity and even learns about nefarious activity for new trackers, because it can observe the behavior of these page elements and then stop it. So your little badger friend runs in the background. You don't have to worry about it, and you automatically get a lot less exposure to trackers. DuckDuckGo also makes a browser extension that does that does the same sort of thing. They call it Privacy Essentials, so you can add that. Don't use Chrome and don't use Edge. These are made by the primary companies that want to pull data out of you, and they do. Chrome also, in the name of security, has changed the way extensions work. So like uBlock Origin won't work fully on Chrome because, you know, it's insecure. And they're not wrong, because like I said, it does need to be able to see all the web data to affect it. but we know why they're doing that. They don't want ad blockers. Ditch Chrome, ditch Edge. Safari is okay. I don't like it for other reasons. But get yourself something else, Firefox. And I have these slashes because Zen is that's my personal daily driver, and LibreWolf are forks of Firefox. Firefox is an open source thing, so you can take that code, if you know how, and then branch off a new project, right? Like LibreWolf that is really privacy focused, while the main Firefox, you do have to do some tweaks and settings if you want to. You can make it your own, but it comes with some sponsored shortcuts and Google as the default search engine. Bless them, but Mozilla, who makes Firefox, does need money to pay the developers who work for it. And their biggest source of income, because people don't want to pay for things, but who wants to pay for things is Google, to make sure it's the default search engine. Doesn't have to be. Speaking of search engines. But there are some other browsers. We mentioned Brave. DuckDuckGo makes a browser. There's other ones that Opera and Vivaldi are around. I don't know much about those, personally. With our search engines, I know we all just kind of go to the internet, type something in, Google takes us there. And I have to confess, I do cringe a little inside when I see people typing like the name of their bank or something in Google, or something login, Facebook login, to try to search for that. When you could just go, don't, but you could, just go to facebook.com or yourbanksname.com, and then you skip Google. And why you might want to skip Google is that they want to be in the way and show you ads. Again, about ads, I looked at a pure, natural Google search. It's the whole first page is ads. That's so many ads. And they're just interposing themselves to show you those ads. So I like to deny them that. I don't even use Google, but I like to deny them that. You have other choices in search engines. DuckDuckGo, like I said, they're building out to make all sorts of other products in a sort of a privacy-focused suite of products. This is one thing you can do, is seek out companies that are trying to make it on a different business model than massive data extraction. DuckDuckGo started as a search engine. Now, they don't crawl the web themselves. They use Bing's results, but they're in between you and Bing. When you search for parakeets just on Bing, then Microsoft writes all that down and tracks you. DuckDuckGo is in between. It's like an anonymizing layer. A search for parakeets goes to Bing, but they don't connect it to you. And DuckDuckGo does not build a profile. They need to show ads, but it's only based on what you're searching for exactly. And I don't want to endorse a single product because that seems not right for a library, but any companies that are trying these alternative models, give them a try. Because it's Bing results, they're pretty, no search results are good anymore because everyone's crafting their website to try to game the algorithm and show up. But it's just as good. And you have the nice feeling that you're not being watched as closely. Startpage is a Dutch company that's a lot like this. They are in between Bing and Google results and you. They make a browser. But they were bought recently by an ad company out of Marina del Rey, California. So I don't know. I don't know if we can trust them for much longer. But they have a lot of products that seem cool. But Brave, the browser company, is also making their own search engine. And you kind of have to start from scratch with this, but they have like a whole different search engine. So I've tried that too. It's developing and maturing and getting better. Might be a good option. And there are a couple other weirdos I just want to point out, different strategies. Mojeek is out of the UK. They're also building their own index of the web. And then the idea is don't manipulate the results as much as Google does now. Google in the beginning was just a search engine. It was beautiful, clean. Now it's to show you ads. There was a time that Google chose, we're going to make search worse so that people have to run more searches and see more ads, like an actual definable moment in time when they chose that. So what if you didn't? Well, things like Mojeek, it's rough right now, you guys. I champion alternatives, but I also want to be clear that It's not as smooth an experience, and the results can be a little weird. But I cheer them on, and I will keep an eye on the project. And then just to underline a point, Kagi is a search engine that takes Google results, but then changes the ranking algorithm, kind of takes that away. So you get what Google might be, which is great, apparently. It's for pay, though. Like you subscribe to them so that they can pay Google, but to separate you from Google and give you kind of the old Google. I can't bring myself to pay for a search engine yet, but an interesting idea, and just really illustrates that it doesn't have to be this way, but they have chosen for it to be this way. Firefox is probably like, if you've heard of another browser that's not Chrome or Edge or Safari, it's Firefox. And this is one of the last standing browsers that is not underneath Chromium, the framework that Google makes. So although I'd love for you to go right to LibreWolf or something, Firefox is super popular. We are not going to dig into all these settings, but all these details. But I've given you links here to, if you get yourself Firefox, and they make it for PCs, Macs, Linux, iOS, Android, any platform you can get this on. Make a few settings changes to just tweak the sponsored content and stuff, and make it the way you want it to be. Change your search engine away from Google, because they have to take Google money, but you don't have to stick with Google. You can change, just as you can change your browser, you can change your search engine. When you install a new browser, or start it up, it will say, oh, hello, would you like me to be the new default browser, and would you like to bring over your bookmarks, your saved passwords and stuff? They do help you make this transition. So don't get rid of Chrome before you install the new browser, but definitely get rid of it after. So you can change that search engine. You can then start installing the extensions you want to do, and then you can enjoy life a little bit more. Again, all of these links are like places I've vetted that have good step-by-steps, and will walk you through it. And the links right there are like the relevant links right to getting the extensions. Because again, I think there's a ublockorigin.com. I don't think it's really the site, because the guy's just it's not for profit. It's like an open source project. So follow my link. Only trust me. Only follow my links. Scams. Oh, goodness. There are a lot of those. We have probably seen enough phishing emails that we know what to look for. Not just anymore the questionable command of English, but primarily it's the feeling of urgency. You have either won $1 million or you owe $1 million, and your account is about to be terminated and your lights will turn off. Something to get you to stop thinking and just follow a tunnel, their tunnel. And you're only talking to them. You call them on the phone, and maybe they've spoofed the phone number so it looks like it's the sheriff's office, right? And you're in trouble, and you got to pay this fine or else there'll be court action. And you can pay this fine with gift cards or a wire transfer, at which point your alarm bells should be well and truly going off. But whatever the scam may be, usually the plan is to knock you on your back feet with some sort of urgency, something overwhelming, to appear very serious and like the actual entity that's contacting you. Whenever this happens, if it's a phone call, if it's an email, we have to engage our physics and have an equal and opposite reaction. Do not panic. When you get an email that demands serious action right away, that is your signal to not take action right away and look over it carefully. Don't ever give those codes to anyone over the phone. If they are requesting some codes that you get on your phone, I don't care who they say they are trying to take that code and log in as you. Any actual company you're dealing with doesn't need that sort of thing. That's to break into your account. This one's really important. Investigate by official routes, or routes if you prefer. And what do I mean by that? I mean, don't click the link that says pay now, or click here, or even in this phishing email that might look really good, like it has the company logo and everything. Don't follow that. Don't trust this communication. If it says your bank account is withdrawn by, or overdrawn by $600. Don't follow those links. Get your browser, your Firefox or your LibriWolf, open, go to your bank's website, log in there, and check. I got a very convincing PayPal one that I got non-swindled because I go to paypal.com instead of clicking on the links, and then I can see, no, none of that is happening. Do you have a question?
When you said scams, my bank gets scams, I was thinking spam.
Yeah, we all get plenty of spam, but our email providers tend to do a pretty good job these days.
If I get spam calls or spam texts, I usually just end the calls or delete spam.
I think that's great. I think that is, yeah, don't engage, don't show them they've got a live one, you know. My dad is very sharp and knows when these things are happening. He's retired, and so one of the things he does for entertainment is just kind of lead these people on and waste their time. I think generally, though, you want to not engage. And watch me, of course. There was a class I did specifically on scams with a lot more detail at the end of last year, and just like this is being recorded, I actually made a separate recorded version of it. It's quite nice, I think, and gives a lot of good detail if you're enjoying me. And let's talk about another security buzzword. Well, buzzword, it's real, but it's kind of overblown, and we need to talk about what's really going on here. What's a VPN? Does anyone know the acronym for this? Virtual Private Network, yes. Yes, this has a lot of uses. For example, if my work computer were somewhere else, I could use a VPN to virtually be on a network here and access internal network stuff. That sounds complicated. Let's pare this down to your usage. How it's recommended to us normies is that you get this software, and then you can appear you're in another country or something like that. Oh, I forgot to finish all the animation. Damn. What a VPN is, there we go. What a VPN is an encrypted tunnel. Remember how HTTPS is an encrypted connection between you and the web server? That still uses whatever's giving you DNS, you know, anything in between you and that website. So there are some attacks that people can try to fake being a Wi-Fi access point and try to put up a fake like Google login page, and then you fall for it, you know. So it's better safety, but even better would be, what if you trusted nothing locally? You're at the cafe, they have some little router, they don't know what to do with it. Maybe someone's hacked it, you don't know. You don't want to be reliant on that. So a VPN is an encrypted tunnel all the way to a VPN server. And from there, then you emerge into the internet. So some of the things you could do with this is that you could choose a VPN server that's in another country. If your country doesn't allow you to see some things, or you want to be in the UK so you can watch BBC without paying for it, that's one thing you can do. The classic VPN use is so that you could get into your corporate network and get on the file server and that kind of thing. But it also has the benefit of keeping you safe from anything in between, because you're not making DNS queries, you're not interacting with that stuff at all, really, except to lay this encrypted tunnel out to the VPN server. Now, a VPN is not, again, not a product that'll just do everything for you and make everything better magically. It does have a big benefit, but what this is a movement of your trust. This is not making trust unnecessary. This is moving all your trust to your VPN provider, which means choosing your VPN provider is very important. Oh, and you will now start to encounter things like, it's known what the exit points from a VPN are. So people may start, or services may start locking down, no, you're on a VPN. You can't use our service. YouTube does this to me, just because I'm appearing to come from my native Canada, but other indicators are that I'm in America. Oh yeah, so it does place all your trust eggs in this basket, so you better trust that basket. There'll be a lot of free VPNs that present themselves. don't trust that. My God, how could they offer this service for free unless they're taking their pay some other way, you know? Except for Proton. Proton is a service out of Switzerland, although they might be moving for law reasons, but out of Switzerland that is, again, a privacy-focused kind of, they're building out an ecosystem like DuckDuckGo kind of is, but you can get email that's encrypted from them, all kinds of stuff. But they have a VPN as well with a lot of countries you can choose. And their free tier, although it's more limited, is the only one I would trust. If you need a free, you don't need to do this very often, but if you're traveling, you want a VPN for security, sign up for the free Proton one and just use it when you need it. Because it does deliver a lot of benefit. You just have to remember you're moving your trust. Privacyguides.org is a wonderful site. Go there, they have roundups of all the products you could use to improve your life and VPNs, and explanations, little intros. I can't recommend them enough, and it's a great place to check on your VPNs if you're considering subscribing to one, because you will have to pay for it if you want to use it regularly. You have there are a lot of terrible companies and governments and such that are trying to get your data and exploit you and all those criminals. You do have some friends in the business, though. Like I said, privacyguides.org, chef's kiss, wonderful. Might be it's a little text heavy, but you can, find exactly what you're looking for and read the technical rundown if you want, or skip to the what do we recommend, because it's a pretty trustworthy source. EFF is the Electronic Frontier Foundation. They make Privacy Badger and a lot of other tools, and do legal support and write articles on issues to help you understand what's going on. If you need some tutorials and stuff that have more pictures, but are still, surprisingly, I scoffed when I first went to lifewire.com and said, this is not going to be good information. But it was, and it was very clear. So you could go there and find something. The library, we're a great resource. Our home for these classes is millvalleylibrary.gov/computers. You will find all the handouts and slides from all the digital literacy classes I've ever done. I will embed the recording. Now that we've got a little playlist of recordings, I'll embed those in there. A great place to find all of this, again, if you want it. I know, classes are great. I love teaching classes, but they're not great for everything. Like, okay, how do I do all this? I'm kind of struggling. We have one-on-one half-hour tech appointments you can make with librarians here, and we can walk you through things like, help me switch my browser. I really want to do this. And we'll walk you through, explain it, and help you do it. Any follow-up email questions you have for me, please. I welcome them. That's the end of my slideshow, and I just wanted to very quickly show you since I went to the bother of setting up the demonstration computer. I've installed a few browsers here. I'll get the old magnifier going. Chrome I've kicked to over here. We're not going to use it. Here's Firefox, which is a little fiery fox. LibreWolf is a little wolf. DuckDuckGo is, yes, a duck. That's Zen, my favorite, but I will show you. So let's take DuckDuckGo first, because it's fun. There's not a mobile LibreWolf at the moment. Welcome to DuckDuckGo, says DuckDuckGo. Am I ready for a faster? Yeah. It was the only option, but yeah. And here's an example. Can I be your default browser? Yes, you can. And it'll take me to in Windows. In Windows, this will be a different process for other things. Set default. Okay, great. DuckDuckGo is running down how great they are. If you must chat with AI chatbots, I think Firefox and DuckDuckGo and Brave have kind of the way they decouple you from Google or Bing, decouple you from the main AI providers. So you may want to use that. Okay, and you can import, see, they just walk you through all this. I'm just going to skip all this because I want to get bookmarks and passwords. It'll block ads in YouTube and use a duck player, which is, again, like an in-betweener between you and YouTube. Nope, I'm going to skip that. Bookmarks. So you can set it up the way you want it to be. Do you want it? No, skip, skip, skip. Oh my God. No. Okay, here we are. And so now your searches will all go through DuckDuck parakeets. Bata, bata, bata. All right, so now if I just searched for parakeets in the bar, where you can either go directly to a site or do a search. Okay, yes, thank you. Thank you. I already know this. You can do a search and get your results. Parakeet, parakeet Wikipedia, like that. And your life is much the same, only less googly, you know? And then if you've been looking for embarrassing medical conditions or whatever, well, one, you're more separated from the people who are tracking you. But if you want to get rid of everything locally you've done, and I wanted to make sure I show this, there's this little fire button. Close tabs and clear data? Yes.
From that particular search?
From everything you've done. So if we went to, I don't know, we wanted to read the news and find it's all terrible, so we want to, yes, DuckDuckGo, its extension and its browser will also let you know what it's blocking. And there's like a couple ads here, but because DuckDuckGo is not specifically trying to block ads. It is blocking trackers, and most ads are trackers, so you'll see fewer ads. And then, if you want to get rid of everything, poof. That's always fun. And then you have like a brand new browser. So this would be, I think, a good like second browser, you know, because you can run multiple. I want to show, here's Firefox. And here's up here, this little puzzle piece is your extensions. We don't have any going on right now, so I will discover extensions. I know that I want to look for uBlock origin, or you could just follow the link that I give you, because that goes right to this page. By Raymond Hill, here it is, add to Firefox. It'll tell you what permissions it needs. Okay. Do we pin extension to toolbar? Yes. It's this little shield up here. You can give it a click, and this is how you turn it on or off for each site. So like I said, if you want to allow a site to show you ads, you can do that per site. But if you don't, let's go back to, say, CNN. I know they're riddled with ads. There are extensions that'll block those horrible sign in with Google things too. But see this number going up here? This is how many elements on the page and what a percentage of the page it blocks. The way it shows it is a little less accessible than some of the other ones, but just to show you, look at all this stuff that it's finding in there. It matches DoubleClick, which is, I think, Google's advertising thing, and all kinds of stuff. But 28 elements in this page alone. And just to look at the privacy badger. Yeah. Let's add this to Firefox. Okay. Now we have a little badger friend up here too. There he is. And if we go to, I don't know, the New York Times, we can see what it's blocked. It has different levels. Do you just not allow it to place cookies, or do you block content from that site entirely? And the badger takes care of all this in the background for you. So it's a set and forget, install, and just have a bit better time. And all these browsers work just as well. If one of these tools is a little too aggressive, you can disable or report a broken site or, calm it down. They're all like this. don't need to show every single one. DuckDuckGo Essentials is a lot like this. But that's the general process. You set them and forget them, and they help out.
So when it blocked all those ads from the Times, does that mean it blocked all those ads that come between the articles?
Mm-hmm.
So they're all.
Yeah. Look, the New York Times is not like interspersed with a zillion ads. And I think ads have just gone too far. And again, if you want to support a site, well, either pay for a subscription to a site. I kind of wish more sites would go back to a more honest, direct model, and some do. But you can turn this off per site if you want. And I think that's what I wanted to show just practically. Yeah.
I think we're familiar with AI that you can query, like from some other places. Computers that are new now advertise that there's artificial intelligence in the computer.
Yeah.
What is that? What's the difference between AI in a computer and using AI in a browser?
Yeah. What's the difference between AI ready or AI enabled or whatever computers that say now the new Microsoft ones are Copilot ready laptops and what have you versus talking to a chatbot? When you're talking to a chatbot, that's usually all the processing and stuff is done in the cloud out on those gigantic data centers that are being built all over the place. But an AI-ready machine has, it might have like something called a neural processing unit, additional new chips and stuff that can do more AI work on the device, which I think I'd kind of prefer because that's less data going, or could be less data being sent to these AI companies. But it makes the devices more capable themselves of running local AI stuff. Maybe not a huge model like GPT-5 or whatever, but our phones and things can do pretty amazing like photo work to extend a photo or erase some person. And hardware inside will help do that and do more of that locally. Do the special kind of math that AI transformation models and transformers and diffusion models and stuff do. I still don't like it because I don't like how AI is being forced on us, and that I don't like how much data they're going to collect. I don't want a thing to reduce my mental ability and have it all offloaded. It's very early, but studies are coming out that show reduced brain activity when you outsource things to a chatbot. So I have my own feelings about it. But after all the exciting mishigas of AI currently has died down, it would be cool to have that ability locally on your machine. So that's what they mean, really. That there's additional hardware in there, neural processing units, tensor, something, that will do more AI on the device, whether you like it or not. Yeah.
You said somewhere back then, Android has its own sandbox. Where is that?
Oh, the Android sandbox. So it is, when they say sandbox, they mean an app runs in kind of its own scoped storage location and can't escape to try to mess with the system, or something that Facebook was caught doing was subverting an earlier Android sandboxing mechanism to try and spy on what other apps were doing and then gather that data. So
Automatic or just
it's automatic, yeah. Yeah, apps will run in a more secure way that tries to keep them away from the operating system itself and other apps. Any other questions? Oh, can I get to you in just a moment? No.
Yes, so multiple devices. If you use one device to go through this whole process, does that mean it automatically transfers, how they share whatever they that synchronize with each other?
Possibly if you have a thing where an app installed on one is installed on the other, but probably you'll be setting both up with something. But like Firefox has accounts you can sync your tabs and extensions and stuff like that across. So it can be more automated.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to make a comment that I have my phone somewhere on privacy private mode at the moment. So all my servers I'm doing on private.
Mm-hmm.
Huh?
That's a good. I mean, your browser is in like the.
Yes, the private, yes.
Okay.
I could do this shut. You are private, as you can see.
Yeah. Okay. So that is some protection. It's not necessarily going to protect you from trackers and things, but it will like not keep the cookies that are placed after you close the session and not keep your history. So it's something, but it's not,
Okay.
you might want to do more.
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
And I was gonna ask you something about my text, but since it's about internet, I think I'll ask someone else, okay?
Okay.
I was about to text, something strange happened about my text, I was gonna ask you after class, but since you're about internet, I think I'll ask someone else.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks for coming. Yeah.
Are you familiar with the Perplexity browser? And so what would you recommend?
Listen, me personally, I don't recommend AI browsers or AI agents or giving this very early, very overhyped technology more power over your browser activity. Like, I don't know if Perplexity is like an agentic browser, or if it just incorporates Perplexity's search results. I guess what I'm fumbling to say, I don't know a whole lot about it, but I don't like it. Which is maybe a bit unfair, but just my leanings.
So as far as changing browsers, which one? Do you just
Which one? It depends. If you still want access to Ask AI stuff in a more privacy-protecting way, Brave or Firefox with changes you make, or DuckDuckGo, be a good choice. LibreWolf doesn't mess with AI. So one of those three.
And that one Zen that you mentioned?
Zen, yeah, that's a Firefox fork. It's kind of, well, I was hesitant not to recommend it right away. They all want to be the default. It's like a minimalist design, so it can be a little off-putting at first, because where is everything? I turn on a few more things, but it also has comes out of the box with increased privacy settings and no sponsored content and stuff. But I did add uBlock Origin to it. So I like it, but
And you're able to get to an AI through it?
yeah, you could. Yeah, you could just go to like the DuckDuckGo search engine, and they have Duck AI, where you can ask AI models, but it's, again, they're kind of interposed between you so that it's anonymized. Yeah.
Does DuckDuckGo hide your VPN
Hide your,
so that others can't see what your VPN is? Does it work like
do you mean your IP address?
Well, so I bought a software that's supposed to hide my VPN so others can't see it.
Can't see that you're using it. It sounds like they're saying they're going to hide your IP.
Okay.
And so,
But it says when I turn it on, it'll say VPN in the browser with a slash through it.
which browser? Just,
It's
oh,
It's a security software, it's not a browser, but I think I was probably in Google Chrome.
so yeah, when they say it's going to hide your IP, remember back when we did the connecting to the internet, and your router has an internet-facing IP address. That's one like easy, basic way to track you, because anything you talk to, you need to know that IP, right? Anything you talk to knows that. With a VPN, you're coming up from somewhere else, so your IP is not it's not your home IP to whoever's out there. So that's a benefit of VPNs, is that they do hide your IP.
We had a secure VPN that I used to access my work. So it's not really necessary for home, is that right? If I know my, work is secure?
Yeah, I'd say it's not really, like, personally, I got the whole Proton ecosystem because I want to move away from Google, and there's a VPN there. But I don't use it at home because I do other things that I have other, I'm happy with my measures there. When I'm out moving around, I get to do the VPN on the phone, and that's good. But you don't really, you could have it on at home all the time, and then to the internet, you appear to be coming from somewhere else.
But if I'm using DuckDuckGo, then I shouldn't need to worry about it, right? Which
It's less.
I just put on my phone.
Okay, great, yeah. DuckDuckGo does a lot to, not IP, but other tracking methods that are more insidious.
Thank you.
Yeah,
This is real stupid. Is do you have to pay extra for DuckDuckGo?
No.
Okay, and the ad blocking for DuckDuckGo or tracking, do you have to pay extra?
nope. Yeah, DuckDuckGo probably has some services that you pay for now, but you don't need.
It was a little confusing when from the App Store because it said in-app purchases, but I didn't get charged anything.
Yeah, when you see in-app purchases, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to make a purchase, you know. But DuckDuckGo's core business is free. All these products are free, and they're not exploiting you. They do show ads in the results, but like I said, it's just
And that's
based
where
on
they're
the
making some money.
yeah.
So what browser do you use to get to DuckDuckGo?
Any. This is that browser versus search engine disambiguation thing. DuckDuckGo makes the search engine and makes the browser the way Google makes Google and Chrome.
If you go Google Chrome to get to DuckDuckGo, then isn't Chrome going to know that you're,
Yeah, and I have looked and looked, trying to get like details on what Chrome, the browser, sends to Google by itself, you know, irrespective of trackers and stuff in the page. I cannot find information that is, that I trust enough to pass on, but it's doing something. It's doing something, it and Edge. So yeah, that would, you know, that wouldn't keep you away from Google's prying eyes, but it would keep other prying eyes off of you.
use that, sorry, everybody.
No, that's okay, I'm listening. It's good, no, good
So
questions.
if I do that flame, which I found at the bottom of the app,
Mm-hmm.
it'll wipe everything away, even that search for DuckDuckGo.
It'll wipe out your search history, any cookies that are stored. Now, this could be annoying in going back and logging in to things, which is why I suggest maybe,
Yeah, by the way, it said it will wipe out your password.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to sign into your apps again, right?
yeah, you don't have to use the flames, of course, but if it matches your use case and you don't want your history or cookies, it's like a fresh start.
Yeah.
But you don't have to burn it to the ground every time.
So Bridget in her class said something about California is one of the states, I guess few states, that allows you to completely erase your total internet history of all time somehow. But we didn't get into the details of that. Is that what that flame thing does?
No, so I think what she was talking about, this thing, yes, California there are only a couple of states that have done state level, any sort of legislation about data brokers and such. You can get yourself on this list, and it's kind of like, remember the do not call list? Tries to keep telemarketers and stuff away from you. I still get an awful lot of spam calls. And again, you know, so you have to be registered with the state of California to be a data broker. If they don't, I don't know what if they don't comply with your request, I don't know what the penalties would be or how much it would be enforced, but this is better than, this is better than nothing. It will order a whole bunch of data brokers to delete their data on you if you make that request. Another good thing about California, there is a do not track element. Just trying to remember where that is. Oh, here we go. Tell websites not to sell or share my data. This used to be called the do not track request. So your browser would say, when it's making a connection to a website, I don't want to be tracked. And nobody paid attention to it at all. There was no penalty if you didn't. In California, now, if you check that little box, that's enforceable. So websites you land on are there with a force of law. Again, if compliance actually happens, they do have to, all right, we will not place marketing cookies, all that. So that's another benefit, I guess, of, sure, it's really expensive, but we live in California and they do have some legislative protections.
Where is this? Is that also on the privacy.ca.gov?
Oh, this is in whatever browser you use, the settings. And they may call it do not track, or Firefox calls it tell websites not to sell or share my data. But now that does mean something. And it didn't used to. But privacy.ca.gov is this website to do drop, delete, request, and opt-out platform. I'm glad they came up with a fun word for it. Okay. Any other questions? Or, thank you very much. Hope to see you next week for the last in our series. And I hope this was helpful.